You were born under a death sentence, yet you became a prince of the world's most powerful empire. You had it all: magnificent palaces, absolute power, and an education from Egypt's finest sages. But in a single day, your life as you knew it collapsed. You became a fugitive and spent 40 years herding sheep in a desolate wilderness, surrounded only by silence and scorching sand. This is the first part of the story of Moses. It is a narrative of how God guides a person through complex paths, transforming a nobleman into a humble shepherd, only to later raise him up as the greatest leader in history and the deliverer of his people. The story of Moses begins in an atmosphere of profound fear. A new Egyptian Pharaoh, watching the Hebrew slaves multiply rapidly, sensed a threat to his dominion. He issued a brutal decree: every newborn Hebrew boy was to be thrown into the Nile River. It was a calculated plan to annihilate an entire nation by destroying its future generation. In these dark times, a boy was born to a Levite family. His mother, Jochebed, hid the child for 3 months, holding her breath at every footstep of the Egyptian patrols. When it became impossible to conceal him any longer, she surrendered his fate to God's protection. She wove a basket from papyrus stalks, coating it carefully with tar and pitch to make it waterproof. She placed the child inside and set the basket among the reeds along the banks of the Nile. The boy's older sister, Miriam, stood at a distance to see what would happen. Soon, Pharaoh's daughter came down to the river to bathe. She noticed the basket and ordered her servants to fetch it. When she opened it, the baby was crying. The princess's heart softened, even though she realized this is one of the Hebrew children. Miriam, showing great courage, approached and asked,
"Shall I go and get one of the Hebrew women to nurse the baby for you?"
Thus, by divine providence, Moses' own mother was given the opportunity to raise her son under the protection of the palace, and was even paid by the princess to do so. When the boy grew older, the princess officially adopted him and named him Moses, which means drawn out of the water. Moses was raised as an Egyptian aristocrat. He studied hieroglyphics, mathematics, state administration, and the art of war. He walked the same halls as future pharaohs and had access to all the knowledge and luxury of the ancient world. Yet, God did not allow him to forget who he truly was. Moses saw the splendor of the palaces, but he also heard the groans of his Hebrew brothers at the harsh labor sites. One day, when he was 40 years old, he went out to witness the toil of the slaves. His eyes fell upon an Egyptian overseer who was mercilessly beating a Hebrew man. In that moment, Moses decided to act on his own, rather than waiting for God's timing. Looking around and seeing no one, he killed the Egyptian and hid the body in the sand. He believed he could save his people through his own strength. But the next day, when he tried to intervene between two Hebrews who were fighting, one of them snapped at him.
"Who made you ruler and judge over us? Are you thinking of killing me as you killed the Egyptian?"
Moses realized his secret was out. Pharaoh was enraged and issued an order for his execution. Moses was forced to flee for his life. Moses left everything behind: his status, his wealth, and his security. He fled across the desert until he reached the land of Midian. By a well, he helped the daughters of a local priest named Jethro defend themselves against aggressive shepherds. In gratitude, Jethro welcomed him into his home. The former prince of Egypt became a simple shepherd. Instead of leading men in palaces, he spent the next 40 years tending sheep. This was a time of silence, and humility. God was shaping Moses, stripping away the pride of an Egyptian nobleman. He married Zipporah and had children. Moses likely believed his mission would never begin, or that he was forgotten. But God was waiting until his servant was ready to listen, not to his own ambitions, but to the voice of the Creator. One day, Moses led his flock deep into the wilderness to Mount Horeb. There, he witnessed a sight that changed everything. A thorn bush was blazing with fire, yet the branches were not consumed. When Moses approached, God called out to him from the midst of the flames.
"Moses, Moses."
"Here I am,"
He replied, trembling.
"Do not come any closer. Take off your sandals, for the place where you are standing is holy ground."
The Lord said,
"I have indeed seen the misery of my people in Egypt. I have heard them crying out, and I am coming down to rescue them. And now I am sending you to Pharaoh."
Moses, who had once tried to save his people by the sword, now felt utterly powerless. He began to argue with God.
"Who am I that I should go? What shall I say to them? What if they do not believe me? I am not eloquent. I am slow of speech and tongue."
God patiently answered every one of his fears.
"I will be with you."
He gave Moses signs, a simple shepherd's staff that could turn into a snake, and a hand that could instantly be covered in leprosy, and then healed at God's word. The Lord also appointed Aaron, Moses' brother, to assist him as his spokesperson. Finally, Moses submitted to God's call. He took his staff and set out back to Egypt, not as a proud prince, but as a humble messenger of the Almighty. Moses is returning to the place from which he fled. Ahead lies the greatest confrontation in history, a shepherd against a Pharaoh, the living God against the idols of Egypt. In the next part, you will see the 10 terrifying plagues, the night of the Passover, and the incredible moment when the waters of the sea parted before the people. Don't miss the rest of this epic journey. If you enjoyed this first part, be sure to like and subscribe to the channel. It will help us create more content like this. Press the bell icon to be notified about the part 2, which will be released very soon. Why do you think God needed 40 whole years to prepare Moses in the wilderness? Share your thoughts in the comments below. See you in the next video.